Namaskar and welcome to Samvad. I am Subhash Jangala, Joint Director in the Directorate General of Administration and Taxpayer Services. And I invite you to yet another insightful and informative discussion from Samvad. Tax deducted at source, that is TDS, is a concept that was introduced with an aim to collect tax at the very source of income. The benefits of TDS are ease of compliance and timely collection of resources for the government. It is indeed noteworthy that we are having this session in 2022, as exactly 100 years ago, the principles of TDS were codified in the Income Tax Act 1922, the precursor of the present day's Income Tax Act 1961. TDS continues to be an effective and efficient mechanism for tax collection, even today, garnering more than 6.5 lakh crores out of the total direct tax collections in the country. For this session on a very important topic, we have with us today Ms. Deepika Mittal, an officer of the 1994 batch of the Indian Revenue Service. Ms. Deepika Mittal has served at various important positions across the country, including assessment and appeals. Along with a stint in the Financial Intelligence Unit, she has also worked in the Systems Directorate, where she was closely associated with the rollout of the e-filing of TDS returns and 26AS in 2005. Subsequently, she worked as a director in the Unique Identification Authority of India at the time of its launch. She is presently posted as Commissioner of Income Tax at the Centralized Processing Center, TDS. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us today, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Subhash, for having me here. Namaskar to all the viewers across the country.
So, ma'am, at the center of the entire TDS ecosystem, we have the Traces portal. So, can you explain to our viewers what the Traces portal actually is?
See, the TDS reconciliation and correction enabling system, which is popularly known as Traces, has been set up by the Centralized Processing Cell TDS of the Income Tax Department. And it is a web application, and it provides a digital platform which brings together all the stakeholders involved in the TDS administration. Various facilities are available to the taxpayers once they complete the registration and login process on the website.
Ma'am, so can you explain now the process for a deductor to register and to log in into the Traces portal?
See, on the Traces portal, like I mentioned earlier, it is a digital platform for all stakeholders. So there are various categories of stakeholders. So for registering on the website, a deductor needs to come to the Traces website, which is www.tdscpc.gov.in. On the TDS website, they need to select the option deductor and then proceed with the registration by inputting a valid TAN. After putting the valid TAN to complete the process, they need to do KYC. And as a part of that KYC, they need to enter the details of the latest TDS statement file, which is based on the financial year, a quarter, and statement, and the form type. After that, they need to input the token number of the original statement file. A lot of times, it is seen that deductors end up they have filed a correction also, and they enter the token number for the correction. That is not the right way to do it. The correct procedure to do is that they need to input the original token number, and after that they need to input the SIN and PAN details of the deductees available. The next step after completing this is they need to enter the organization details, their communication address, and create their user ID password. After this, they will receive an activation link followed by an activation code on the email ID and the mobile number which has been given. This activation link has to be used within 48 hours, and after using this, an activation process is complete. The deductor is able to log into their system.
Ma'am, like you said that there's an activation code or link that the deductors receive. Now, in cases where they do not receive the activation link or code, then what is the remedy that they have?
There is a recent activation link option which is available to the deductors, which can be used. And even after that, if they are not able to do it, then they need to wait for 48 hours before they can before they have to do the process again.
Okay, ma'am. Now going into the actual the Traces portal, can you give us a brief on the important facilities that are available on the Traces portal and how it really improves ease of tax compliance for the department and for taxpayers?
See, like I mentioned earlier, Traces is a digital platform which brings all stakeholders together, those stakeholders which are associated with TDS administration together. It provides for deductors, the Traces portal provides facilities like online filing of corrections. They can view their Challan status, statement status, default summary. They can download console files and justification reports for the demands. They can verify PANs. They can download a PAN-TAN combination file. They can validate certificates which are issued under section 197, which are low and which are certificates for low or no deduction of tax. They can file declarations that they will not be filing a TDS statement. They can download form 16, 16A, 27D, which are generated as a result of their TDS statements which have been filed. Refund functionality is available on login. Then they can place requests for resolutions, like they have some grievances which are not getting addressed, which can be raised through after login. Then they can place a request for 26A and 27BA forms, and they can also enable paperless intimations via this. In addition to these facilities which are available after login, there are certain facilities and information like tickers, tables, circulars, notifications, helpline details, etc., which are available to all taxpayers and all stakeholders without the login.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, from what you explained, it clearly shows that Traces is a really significant and critical interface that brings taxpayers, deductors, and the departments together on one platform. Now, in case deductors face some errors, or what kinds of errors do deductors face when they do their KYC process for registering or at the time of login into the portal?
A lot of times the question arises that why do we need to do a KYC if we have done at the time of registration? See, when you are doing any tax related information, there is a lot of sensitive information which is between the deductor and the deductee. So to ensure that it is the correct person to validate their credentials and authentication, a KYC process is put in place. And when they are doing this KYC, a lot of times a lot of errors are observed. The most common of which are that the deductor is inputting incorrect Challan details. So there is a mistake in the SIN details which they are inputting. Another common mistake which is seen is incorrect PAN and amount combination. But the most common error which is seen is that the deductor is inputting a valid Challan, but the system is still not doing the KYC. Why this happens is that this error occurs in a case where there are more than one Challans associated with a statement and which have valid deductee rows. Now the deductor is required to use that particular Challan which has the maximum deductee rows associated with the Challan. So in case they use a Challan with lesser number of deductee rows, the KYC will fail. Here I would just like to add, you had raised the question about errors, but I would like that there is another facility which is available for KYC in case it is failing. If the deductor has registered a digital signature certificate, that can be used for the purpose of login. And if else they do not have KYC details or a digital signature, they can approach their jurisdictional TDS assessing officer for obtaining the KYC details, so to enable them to log into the system.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, now if we move towards the actual depositing of TDS and TCS in the government account, we have something called OLTAS Challan 281. Can you explain to our viewers what actually this Challan is?
OLTAS 281 Challan is the Challan for depositing TDS. It's a TAN based Challan, and the deductor is required to fill in all the fill in the fields and deposit the Challan. The Challan details after depositing are required to be filled in the TDS statement, which is very essential, which is the most important basis for the processing of the statement.
Okay. Now, ma'am, in several occasions, it has been seen that the challan has been deposited and the tax has been paid, or the TDS has been deposited in the government account, but the challan is not visible on the portal. Why do such incidents happen?
See, the challans are, the tax payment is made via the NSDL portal, and invariably it takes almost 2 days, after which the information comes from NSDL and resides into the tracers portal. So hence there is this delay of 2 days in viewing of the challan details.
Okay. Ma'am, in your experience of seeing the processing in the tracers portal, what are the most important mistakes that deductors do while filing the challans on the portal?
The most common mistakes which can be seen are predominantly two mistakes which we see. Mistakes are made in while inputting the TAN. A wrong TAN is put. A TAN pertaining to an associate is put in, or some data entry error happens. And another mistake which happens is while inputting the major head code, minor head code, and the section code for the TDS. The corrections in TAN can be made by approaching the TDS assessing officer, whereas the corrections in case of major head, minor head and section code can be made by the deductor themselves using the online tax correction challan correction facility, which is available at the tracers portal.
Thank you so much. And that is the end of part 1 of a session on TDS. We had an informative discussion about the tracers portal, troubleshooting at the time of logging and registering on the portal, and the most common mistakes committed by deductors. In the next session, we shall be looking into the actual filing of TDS returns, short deductions and refunds. We hope to see you there. Thank you and Jai Hind.